Okay, so like I said, this part 1, most of this is going to be a total review. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes, and I want you to work those first 4 right there. You are given f of x. You are asked for 4 things. Go forth and make that happen. Do we agree with those first 2? For sure? Okay, good. Now I'm going to give you a little fair warning. I had a really hard time last period doing things like adding 2 simple numbers and writing things down correctly. So if you see something weird, please let me know. I don't even know where some of that stuff was coming from, unfortunately. All right, so then when I substitute this one in, 2 times 4a minus 3. So do I multiply the 2 times the 4 and the 2 times the a? No, because that would not make any sense, right? This just gives me 8a minus 3. Then anytime you substitute something in with more than one term, you absolutely have to put parentheses. Like where I put parentheses on these other 2, I don't necessarily have to. I think it's good to be consistent so that when it does matter, you have them, but you don't have to put those. But I do have to put them here. So 2 times 5x minus 1 minus 3. And that's going to give me 10x. And I cannot do -1 minus 3 is not -4, right? This is -2 and then minus 3. So that gives me 10x minus 5. Okay. Any questions at this point? We good? Super easy, right? Okay. So composite functions. That was just evaluating functions. Composite functions. Sometimes in math we will plug in a value, and I need to go back and change this, although I have high respect for the man that writes this. When it says plug in, it makes my skin crawl. We are substituting in. So we will substitute a value for x into a function, and then use the output, the answer, to substitute into another function. When we substitute an output of one function back into a function, this is called a composite function, or compositions of functions, which is what we're doing right now. So it says let g of x equal 3x plus 1, let g of 2 equal c. We want to find g of c. Okay, so before I can find g of c, what do I have to find? G of 2, right? So g of 2 is equal to 3 times 2 plus 1, which I know is super simple, and you may think it's dumb to write that, but you better write that, okay? Because that first step is always 0 work. You substitute it in. Then that gives me 7. I don't have to show 6 plus 1, right? That's g of 2, which is 7, which is equal to c, which means that g of c equals g of 7, which is 3 times 7 plus 1, which is 22. Okay. Oh. Never knocks loud enough. Drop a pass. You have to go to the attendance office then. Okay. We all good with that? All right. So composite functions. There are 2 ways we can write composite functions. I like one way better than I like the other, And I will tell you why in a minute, but you can see them both ways. And so you need to understand them both ways. First one would look like this, F, and then there's a little tiny circle. So it's not an O, it's a little teeny tiny circle. It's also not a dot, so it's not solid. F, and then G, and then X like that. And that reads F of G of X. Kind of looks like fog, but again, that's not an O, it's a little teeny tiny circle. Or this. I like the second one a whole lot better because it shows you what goes on the inside. But again, it's a matter of opinion. I don't really care how you write it as long as you understand what's going on. And we read this as F of G of X. That's how we read it. Okay. Look familiar? Totally should. Okay, when working with composite functions, we start on the inside, which is really the inside of the set of number 2, but it's the right side of the first one. Same thing either way. If you're given F of G of X, we evaluate G of X first. Then we use the answer from G of X and plug it into, substitute it into F of X. Everybody good with that? Work from the inside out. Okay, so if we have F of G of 3, the first thing we are going to find is G of 3. G of 3 is going to be 2 times 3 plus 1, just 7. So now that I have G of 3, I find F of 7. And that's going to give me 3 times 7 minus 5. 21 minus 5, that is 16. So that means that F of G of 3 equals F of 7, which equals 16. Everybody good with all that? Yes? Any questions? All right. So then I need here, what am I going to find first? F of 3, F of 3, 3 times 3 minus 5. Give me 4. Right. Then I need G of 4. It's going to be 2 times 4 plus 1, which is 9. So G of F of 3 equals G of 4, which equals 9. So want to make sure that you understand that order matters, because you can see from A and B here that F of G of 3 is not the same thing as G of F of 3. You get two completely different numbers. Is it possible that we have two functions where they end up giving me the same answer? Absolutely, but that's not what's happening here, and it definitely doesn't happen every time. Okay, we good with that? All right. Let's look at C. So F of 4, you go ahead and find that one. We get 16 in the end? Yes, we good? Okay, perfect. Any questions? All right. F of g of x. Go ahead and find that one. Okay, so if I have f of g of x, I have to find g of x first, right? I found it. It's right there. So then f of g of x will give me 3 times 2x plus 1 minus 5, which gives me 6x plus 3 minus 5, 6x minus 2. All right? Yes? Okay, so now do g of f of x. You can sit over there where that backpack is so your back isn't to me. Oh, well, no, just at your table. I just moved him over because I was thinking they were both testing, but you were absent the day before the test. That's what got me. Okay. Then go ahead and do g of f of x. All right. Any questions at all? We're good, right? Okay, perfect. I'll lip it over then. Okay, given the functions above, find the following. So go ahead. Find k of h of 2. Oh, somebody's at the door. I need to knock louder. I need a doorbell or something. We agree with 10? Yes? Okay, good deal. So on B, rewrite it first. Rewrite this into the other form of that. H of m of negative 1. We agree with that? Now, I'm not saying you have to rewrite it every time. I will, and that's what I'm going to do in model for you. If you don't want to, that's fine, as long as you know what you're doing. I don't care, but you need to know that they're the same. And then find that. Any questions on B? Okay. Then on C, rewrite it, and then find it. We all agree with my first step. Okay. So what is the square root of 3x plus 1 squared? Beautiful. 3x plus 1. Okay. Plus, do I get to distribute this 4 to the 3 and the 1? No, he just stays stuck out there, right? 4 square root, 3x plus 1. Be very careful with your square root sign so it doesn't look wild. And you need to be able to tell what's actually under there and what's not, because this plus 5 is not. Okay. So when I start to combine these things, can I combine the 5 and this 1? No. Can I combine the 5 and this 1? Yes. Okay. So then this is going to give me 3x plus 6 plus 4 times the square root of 3x plus 1. And then add the 6 and the 4, right? No, absolutely not. It's being multiplied here. That's the best we can do. That is what it is. Okay? We good? Questions you got? All right. So that's all pretty much review, right? Even the rest of this is pretty much review, except that it's more in an AP form, where you're given different representations of these functions to be able to evaluate these compositions. So we have f of x, g of x, h of x, and k of x. Okay? So I have ways of getting values from all of those. K of x, though, it's in words, and it would be better if it was at least an equation or something. So it's a quadratic function with a horizontal translation of 2, followed by a vertical translation of -3. So that means that k of x is equal to something squared, and then things go around that, right? Because it is a quadratic. So I have a horizontal translation of 2 that goes inside my parentheses, right? So this would be x what? -2. Good. Notice the way that this is worded. If it was the other way, because now then it says a vertical translation of -3. So it's not saying left and right, it's using the positive and negative. Yes. Oh, -2. I'm sorry, my brain was on the 3. See, I told you, I don't know what my problem is. I think my brain jumps ahead of what I'm trying to do. I think I said 2. I don't know what I said, but the 2 makes sense, right? Y'all said the right number, and then I don't know what happened. But okay. And then, yeah, because it would say negative if it was going the other way. Vertical translation of -3, then what do I do? -3. That's where my -3 goes. We good so far? All right, so now that I have that, because that'll be helpful for me when I get to the rest of this, I want f of g of 3. So the first thing I need to find is g of 3. What is g of 3? 2? Or is it -1? Or is it neither of those? It's not there, because this is where my x is, right? G of 3 would have to be an x value. It's not there, right? Which means my function is not defined for g of 3, so it is not defined. Which means I can't find f of not defined, right? So the whole thing is not defined. We good with that? Any questions? All right. So let's start by rewriting b. This is h of f of 8, right? So I'm going to find f of 8 first. What is f of 8? -1. Where'd you get that from? The graph, because that's your f function, right? Then I need h of -1. Oh no, it's a piecewise. This must be the most difficult thing we've ever done in our lives. Is this hard? No. Okay, so do I take the -1 and substitute it into all 3? No, there's only one that makes sense. Is it the first, second, or third? First, because -1 is less than 1, right? So that means that h of -1 equals the absolute value of -7 plus 3 times a -1, right? So that gives me the absolute value of -7 minus 3, the absolute value of -10, which is Everybody okay with all that? Awesome. All right, so then this is g of k of 0. K of 0. Well, I'm glad that I made my little equation there because I need to substitute it in. So this is going to be 0 minus 2 squared minus 3. 4 minus 3. 1. Then I need g of 1. What is g of 1? Not defined. Everybody okay with that? Yes? All right, then you do D. F of 2. F of 2, is it 1 or is it 4 or is it not defined? It's 1 because that's where my solid circle is, right? 1. And then F of 1 is what? 4. While we are looking at F, let's talk about some other things. What is F of 6? 3, right? What is F of 5? Undefined. What is F of 6.5? Undefined. Okay, all that makes sense to you, right? We know how to find those? Okay, good deal. Alrighty, so now on to E. So this is G of H of 1. H of 1. Let's go back up here. What is H of 1? Negative 4. Wow, those piecewise functions, they are hard, aren't they? Negative 4. Then G of negative 4 is what? Pi. Very good. What questions you got? Yes, you're done? Oh. So put your calculator up. Yeah, don't forget, if you've got a test, you've got a second part, so you want to make sure you have time for that. Just put that calculator up. We good? You ready? Okay, go ahead and put your calculator. So y'all go ahead and do, actually the first thing I want you to do is rewrite F while I'm doing this, and then we'll make sure we rewrote it. Give me your calculator too. Oh, that was your calculator? Yeah, you were supposed to be using mine, so I'm going to have to give it back to you after class. Make sure you agree with the rewriting process there. Count your parentheses, okay? So this looks yucky. Is it really any more difficult than the rest? No. So go ahead and start to evaluate this one. Oh goodness, they're asking me about the piecewise function. What is f of 13? Not defined. So can we go any farther? Nope, we're done. Any questions at all? Awesome. All right, so go ahead and get that put in your ISN. I will give you your assignment, and you got some time to work on that.